Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mayor's Table. On today's episode, we're getting an update from leadership at Farmington Municipal Schools, keeping you involved and engaged on things happening here in your school district. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Mayor's Table. With me today are our friends at Farmington Municipal Schools, our leadership team, Superintendent Cody Deal. Thank you for being here with us today. And our Executive Director of Ops and Athletics, Isaac Gamboa.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, man. Good to have you guys here. And I thought it'd be good to get an update now. We're kind of moving into the fall part of the year and see what's going on with our school district. Always a lot of conversations, and I appreciate the partnership between the schools and the city. It's funny now, all these years that I've been an elected official, the times that I have to have conversations with folks to separate the fact that the schools are a separate governing body from municipal government, right? We have some partnerships where we interact, but as far as the oversight and the elected officials go, those are very, very different groups. So.
Well, absolutely, and I want to thank the partnership, thank the city always. Not only the city but the county and the partnerships that we have with the police department and the support that we get from the city, whether it's San Juan Safe Communities, and it's a pleasure to always partner with the city, and we thank you. But you're right. Sometimes people think that we're one and the same.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy, and I think in some places that may be the case, depending on the state that you're in. There may be some of that. But I'm not sure. Yeah. Just a misconception.
Well, and when we have our SROs in our buildings, and sometimes they feel like they're part of our school district, which they are.
Right.
But they don't understand that we are separate.
Sure. Well, I've always looked at it too when it comes to schools or local government. I mean, it's a community.
Yeah.
We're all interacting. We're all intermingling. We're all everybody's trying to row in the same direction for the benefit of our students, for the benefit of the community as far as growth goes, and safety. And safety is a big part of course, of what we deal with in that partnership with the schools from our police department side. But, there is overlap. So it's good to have you guys on and kind of give some updates here to the people of Farmington and San Juan County of what's happening with Farmington Municipal Schools. Anything fun, exciting coming up here in the near future?
Well, I mean, every day is exciting in schools, right? When you have, we 20 small little cities, 11,000 students, there are 10,500 students, 1,700 employees. So there's always something happening, whether it's athletics or extracurricular activities, building new facilities, transportation, food service. So it's a huge operation. So, every day is a challenge, but every day is exciting.
I love the way you phrase that. It's 20 different little cities, because each and every one of those things have to be self-sufficient in some ways, especially when you're talking about the fact that you've got employees, you've got students, you've got food component to it, you've got a safety component to it, you've got athletics in many of these schools. I mean, that's interesting.
Well, and you see it right across our city. We have neighborhood schools.
Yeah.
We have pockets in our cities that are different, and it's no different with our schools. The population, the makeup, the culture of that school, who is showing up every day. One thing that I'm really proud of with Farmington Municipal Schools, though, is creating systems in which, a third grade classroom at Ladera Elementary looks similar to that at, say, McKinley Elementary. Our students deserve that same high quality education. So putting together things like critical concepts that students learn, common formative assessments, the way we assess our students. So what one student gets on one side of town, they're getting on the other. So they are unique, but we want to make sure that students are getting a high quality education across our city.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and there's a lot of places where that's taking place. Interesting, 10,500 students. In your time here at FHS or Farmington Municipal Schools, Cody, how long have you been superintendent now?
So this is my third year, starting my third year as a superintendent.
And then, but prior to that, within the kind of administrative, you'd been here.
This is my 10th year in Farmington Schools.
And then Isaac?
I've been here for 11 years. I taught at Pierre Vista for a while, and then I've been in my current position for this one for 1 year, but as the athletic director, 4 years.
All right.
Yeah.
10,500 students now enrolled. Kind of historically speaking, how does that rank?
So at one point over the last couple of years, I think we were at our highest enrollment. We saw a little dip during COVID, but we're starting to see a decline in enrollment. We had our facility master's plan, an architectural firm come in and talk to us about our 5-year master plan, and they are predicting a decline in enrollment, and we're seeing that. So last year we had a decrease of about 120 students.
What do you attribute that to? From the school's perspective, what do you guys believe that's kind of?
It's hard to predict. Do we have people having less babies? Mobility in our community? Is it infrastructure, oil and gas, companies that have gone away? It's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
But it's, I sit at breakfast with some city and county leaders once a quarter and talk about jobs and increase in jobs in the hospital. So I don't know. It's just kind of like ebbs and flows.
No, there is that. I think there is that component, but I think it's a number of different variables, certainly that we're seeing as well as a city. When you lose big industry and you lose, big corporate offices that had, $100,000 a year jobs in it, that will have an impact on our school district and the number of students that are enrolled there. We know this year, and I think it's for the next 3 years, in athletics, for as far as high schools go, we've been bumped into the 6A brackets, which they've now put us with the Rio Rancho schools, which is just so lovely.
Yes.
As the parent of a football player at PVHS, I can tell you it's been lovely. But I think when we were talking off air, you said we're one of the smallest 6A schools, Farmington and PV both. Is that correct?
That is correct. Farmington last year, the last couple of years, they've been kind of that mid-range 6A school, but with our numbers decreasing, they're becoming one of the smaller schools, and PV is just above that threshold of making it in 6A for football. So bright side is we get to play at some of the nicest venues.
That's true.
The other end is you're playing some of the top competition in the state. So, the first year we went up to 6A, my oldest was a senior that year, and we just come off a loss in the semifinal game, going the next year 5-0, and then we're bumped into 6A, and it was a little bit different, and we struggled that first year, but we were in the same district as we are now. The second year, though, we made it to state. It's a steep learning curve, but I think our kids will get there.
And there's the ebb and the flow of athletics too.
Right.
But I do appreciate the number of programs that are designed, kind of sticking on this extracurricular activity for a minute. The number of clubs and things that are going on inside of the schools is tremendous. There is a lot of places for students to go after school and get involved with individuals who are passionate about the things they're passionate about. And I want to just say thank you for fostering that type of culture, and to the teachers who are taking extra time out of their day to make sure that they're sponsoring those clubs, and to the parents and everybody involved in that. Because when I show up, for example, to call a Farmington football game on a Friday night on radio, it's cool to see the AV students up there that are putting together all the technical and the video and just their involvement. I love it.
Right. And if you go to any high school, even middle school, those schools are running through the wee hours of the night. There's always somebody there doing something. Really excited about our media programs at both schools. We're working with Desert Sports Live to kind of foster that and try to make a big production for not just the kids on the field, but also those kids that want to be behind the camera or in front of the mic. So we're in our second year in building that, so I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah. Well, speaking about that, I mean, just in regards to, we were talking trades earlier. That's one of those things tying in where the students who are involved in those aspects of the production of TV and streaming, I guess, is where we're all at now. But we were mentioning earlier, kind of talking about the plan for trade school development and the CATE Center, what we have there now, and the kind of industries that we're kind of focused on. Kind of elaborate on what that project, what that plan looks like for folks. Because I when I walk into the schools now, when I was a student, there was this huge push. Everybody had to go to college. And we're kind of seeing this backlash now a little bit, I think, because people end up going to college and they're getting, they're studying things that aren't necessarily going to provide them long-term, financial success, liberal arts degrees, things of that nature. But there is potential, and we all know that in every day, in every community, you've got a need for electricians, you've got a need for construction workers, you've got a need for automotive experts and welders and all of those groups that actually keep these communities running, right? So talk a little bit about the CATE Center and our plan there.
Yeah, so obviously we want to expand it, and so you're exactly right. When you talk about when you were in school, when we were in school, school doesn't look that much different. And let's face it, the kids that are growing up today are a lot different, and what they're exposed to, how they communicate, their needs, and what excites them, what engages them, and so to provide these opportunities, just like Mr. Gamboa said, in regards to, let's just take media arts and creating pathways where students can get a taste of what things look like and guide them in a direction in which they want to go. And we want to prepare them for that and make them successful when they leave our system. So the more opportunities we can provide, the better off our students will be. I challenge our high school principals all the time. I say, we have to stop ringing a bell every 55 minutes. Let's make it look different for our students. Going back to clubs and what students are able to participate in, it's huge, right? Because we have to provide opportunities for students to want to be there and what really excites them. And I don't think it's any different than when I was in school. English Lit did not excite me.
Right.
Algebra 2 did not excite me, even though I was a math teacher. What can we do to engage those students? Now, that's not to say that we don't have amazing teachers and the stuff that they're doing. I know Mr. Gamboa, my two boys had him at Piedra Vista as an English teacher, and they looked forward to going to it. So I'm not saying that we don't excite our students and engage them, but we just have to expand those opportunities. And when I look at numbers that we have in place, I think we have like over 4,000 of our students at the secondary level who are, it's like 68% of our students who are involved in some type of fine arts, whether it's visual arts or media arts or performing arts. And that's huge, right?
Right.
You talked about it.
Yeah, we don't want that to go away either.
We don't want that to go away. So those things have to stay, right? So it's finding that balance. Currently at our CATE Center, we offer automotive, hospitality, and welding. And Mr. Gamboa and I were there, a week ago, and we looked at each other and said, we could stay here all day, right? And kids are making stuff and plasma cutters, and it's just really cool to get your hands dirty,
Sure.
get your hands on stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so the more opportunities we create, the better off our students will be and our community.
Well, in the CATE Center, and this is kind of we're going to get into a little bit of some of the projects. There's been a lot of discussion about the pre-K and what that's going to look like. And I know that's kind of on the forefront of some of these things we're trying to get done. And state funding for those things, obviously actually I'd heard rumor, so you can maybe dispel this, but I'd heard the state essentially had put a kibosh on building any new schools right now because the cost of building was so high. Is that an accurate statement?
I think for a while there that was kind of the rumor, but I mean we just got our final pricing for the pre-K and HVAC, and I mean the cost was way down from what they had expected it to be. So in that sense, I feel pretty comfortable that at least going forward with this project, those numbers will stand true for the rest of this year till we knock on wood start on that project here pretty soon. So
the CATE Center has a pre-K in it. And the idea is to build a new pre-K. Was that over by Country Club Elementary School? Is that accurate?
So the plan is that we have two pre-Ks, pre-K East and West. West is with the CATE Center. The plan is to build behind the pre-K East by Country Club. Once that one's finished, and demolish the East and move both pre-Ks into that new building. So still got to go request to the state for funding. So that's what we're in the process of now. And so if any wishful thoughts out there for the community, I would ask anybody out there, give us your most truest thoughts and
sure,
and push us that
contact your
direction.
elected officials.
Yes.
Well,
at the state level.
Yeah, at the state level, right? And like Mr. Gamboa said, I mean, so pre-K went to a full day last year.
Oh, okay.
And so we had to expand our classroom. So we took up a lot of space at the CATE, and there's a safety factor there as well, right? So we have 4 and 5-year-olds mixed with, or 3 and 4-year-olds mixed with high school kids.
Yeah.
And they do a really nice job of not crossing paths and keeping it safe, via access control and things like that. But it would provide a great opportunity not only for our littles, but our older kids as well.
Well, and expanding the programming right at the CATE, so you're bringing in other industries, so to speak, that you could introduce them to. I think we mentioned nursing being potentially one of those. I'm a big push for getting kids to be pilots. It's been kind of this labor of love for us to try and get air service back to Four Corners Regional Airport. Part of the issue there is the pilot shortage. We know there's long-term potential there, there's careers for pilots, and if San Juan College is watching here today, we encourage you to potentially include some curriculum there for pilots and for mechanics. We need both of those. But yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, we got to key in on the things that are where the needs are right now, right?
Yeah.
And I think schools play that critical role. Community colleges also play that critical role as well.
Yeah, I can't thank San Juan College enough for the partnership that, and I wish I had the numbers in front of me. I have them on a slide that we're going to present tomorrow night at the work session. But the number of students who take dual credit classes, who are involved in some of those programs that you talk about, electricians, plumbers, so oil and gas at their School of Energy. So we're lucky. Our students are lucky to have that hub right here in our community.
Well, I want to encourage the parents too. There's a lot going on and a lot of opportunities that unless the parents are really paying attention to it, they could miss that. I spent a lot of time, just especially on radio, talking about the need for parents to be more engaged with what their students are doing. I mean, when we talk about student success, having a parent in the household who's really pushing the need for education on them, that's the most important key. When you lack that, when there's a void in the home, and the kiddos having to do with this all on their own, that's when we see really the outcomes that are much different. So I just want to encourage our parents out there to work with our schools. And that was my message at the beginning of the school year, is to say, parents, let's work with our teachers. Let's develop a relationship with them so that we are apprised all the time on what our students are doing, and we're helping them through this process. It's not easy. Right? I mean, all of us have been through it. We know there's some difficult challenges on that road, but I know that my mom was always going to be there supportive of me through that. I knew that my coaches at the school were going to be helping me through that. I knew I had developed good relationships with my teachers. And that goes back to even my students, my kids who've come through. Developing great relationships with the teachers is the key to your success. I mean, you have that ability now where if they have mutual respect with one another, you're going to have better outcomes in the classroom. I know school isn't for everybody. My brother hated school. It wasn't his thing, but it's a requirement, and it's something that we need to get done, and there's a reason for it. So I just want to encourage our parents to continue to develop those relationships within the schools, make sure your students are staying apprised of what's happening, and take advantage of these dual credit programs. I mean, those are keys. My oldest daughter, she went to San Juan College High School, which is just a fantastic opportunity. I mean, she's 20 years old getting her master's degree now, and it's because of these opportunities that have been put out there.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing that I'm really proud of as well is that when we provide these dual credit opportunities, in a lot of places, districts will pay for one textbook, one class. In Farmington, we're lucky, and knock on wood, we'll continue to be able to do it, but we allow students to take unlimited dual credit classes, and we pay for their textbooks. So, but going back to our parents, family engagement is huge, and we work really hard to try to engage our families at our Title I schools with academic parent-teacher teams. It's not an opportunity just to come in and like the old-fashioned parent-teacher conference to tell us how your kid's doing. We want to partner with parents to how do they support their students away from school. And so you're right. Without their help, it makes it difficult. And I think when we were growing up, everybody trusted the school system, right? The school system, whatever the school system said, our parents believed them. And we weren't always right. And we're not always right today. And we're, like I said, we have 20 little cities, a lot of people involved, and we make mistakes. And if we don't hear about it and we're not collaborative and transparent, then we can't own it and we can't support and do something about it, right? So I think there's this misconception that our schools are closed off to our parents, and that we do not want to send that message. And I know Mr. Gamboa deals with it daily in terms of, and if he wants to speak to it, he can as well. But I just encourage our parents to volunteer. Our doors are open. And if they're not open and you're being closed out, call my office.
Not literally, because the doors are locked during the day.
But you can get in,
open
right?
Communication. Open communication.
Another thing that we're proud of in terms of safety is our secure vestibules at our schools, right? And
That's been a big upgrade over the last decade.
In our visitor management system, right? So you have to come and present an ID, yes, but that doesn't mean we don't want you in our
That's
schools.
right.
We want to make sure that our schools are safe, right? And so I don't know if you want to speak to your side of it, but
I always encourage parents to go and talk with coaches and get involved with. We were speaking about booster clubs. That involvement is huge. The parents get to see the other side of the coaching. They get to see the financial side. They get to see the problems that some of the kids on the team have, and some of that funding can go to help the whole team. But also, sometimes there's stuff in the program that other parents in the stands that don't know. So I think getting involved gives a bigger picture. Something I think is a good segue into what we're trying to implement now with all of our programs. So the NMAA sent me down up to Indianapolis to sit in a conference on professional development. I'll sit on that. I sit on the NMAA commission, so I'll start teaching professional development to other ADs in the state. But one of the courses I got to sit in was building culture and the behaviors in a championship culture. So took a lot of that from that course, as well as some of the stuff we've been trying to implement. And I hit the ground running that Monday morning, and we had a coaches meeting that day, and we started implementing it. It's going to be in phases. You can't create a culture overnight.
Sure.
So I sat down with the coaches and I said, you know what? We had core values, we had a mission, we had a vision, but I created it. We didn't create it. So we're starting together and we are moving forward. So we established some acceptable behaviors, unacceptable behaviors in a program, whether it's on the court, in the community. We started selecting core values. Now that's going to the kids. Now the kids are going to have a say. What's important to me as a value in this program, because essentially our programs are vehicles to teach more things than just the game.
Oh, yeah.
So now the kids, we're in the process where the kids are giving their input on their core values, and then they're establishing, what, this is appropriate behavior, this is not appropriate behavior. And the kids' responses, I'm just starting to see them. This morning I was reading them, and it's unbelievable. I mean, they know what they like to see on the court or the field, and they're being true to themselves and their teammates, and their responses are pretty cool. We'll give the kids probably to the end of the month to finish their responses and get everything in, and then we're going to send it out to the parents. What do you want to see as far as core values that are being taught to your kids in our programs? What's acceptable for you as a parent in the stands in the program? What do you think is unacceptable for our coaches and our athletes on the court? So we're all in together. Parents can be on the field coaching,
sure,
but there is a role, and they need to be involved. And so we want all the people in our programs to feel like there's a part for them and a say for them in our program. So that's where we're at. And I encourage, when the survey goes out to the parents, you all contribute to that, and we want feedback. And it's hard to sit down with 11,000 people and, hey, what's your opinion? So, I mean, we get surveyed to death, but it's the quickest and easiest way to get info. So,
well, one thing I do want to celebrate the fact, because it tells me that you all recognize the value of communication.
Yeah.
And the amount of communication that is, has been ramped up dramatically, I think, especially the last 4 years. Which can be good and bad. Sometimes
right.
There's too much, and you're trying to find the happy medium. But I take all the surveys, and I encourage people to take the surveys, and it's just like voting. Yes, you should vote. Your vote does matter. Your communication matters. Those survey responses matter. Everything's being tabulated. Everything's being considered. And if we see something that, oh man, didn't realize that was that big of a concern. Now we can address that and find ways to come together on those things. So, yes, please take those surveys, and that sounds great. I love this idea of collaboration between the schools, the coaches, the students, and the parents. I mean, that's the way it should be.
Right.
Yeah, and I commend him for doing it, and we all know, and I had 2 kids that went through the system who were athletes, and we all have these great visions, right, of where they're going to be and what this is going to do for them. But ultimately, when it's all said and done, sometimes I think we lose sight of what athletics are really about. The grit, showing up every day, being part of something, being part of a team, and sometimes all those values, those core values that they'll determine, kind of sometimes get pushed aside because we think we're going to the next level, and let's face it, not many of us get to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And so it is a great teaching tool, and just showing up every day. When we look at students who participate in clubs or athletics or activities, they're typically really successful as adults.
You're building the foundations for life. I mean, that's what you're doing. And
exactly.
When you're socializing at a young age and you're getting involved and you're putting yourself out there, that's going to free you up when you get older, because you're like, well, I've already done this before. I can do this. Yeah, what do we need? Let me step into that. Oh, you guys like these things? I like these things. Let's work together and do these. The cultural component to me, having been in different teams and been in bad cultures where there was no self-accountability and the team wasn't holding each other accountable versus teams that were, it's a black and white experience. And it was great to be on both sides of that, to be able to see it, because then it helped me, going through my life on what is the right path, and okay, well, these are the things that we don't want to do because I know where those lead. So, and the kids will get that.
I think establishing those non-negotiable behaviors with coaches, players, athletes, and their parents is now there's a different conversation. It's not about the wins and losses and the scoreboard anymore. It's are we holding each other accountable to these non-negotiables?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, like, tell my coaches, this is my one expectation, is make this a great experience for the kid. And sometimes it's discipline. Sometimes it's cutting a kid and letting them learn that lesson. But we have to keep in that same behavior that we've all agreed upon in our culture.
No, I think there's a contract that needs to be signed in some ways, right? Beginning of the year, where the parents recognize and the students sign on and say, these are the acceptable behavior. These are unacceptable behaviors. Right. We acknowledge that. We're going to follow it, Of course, they'll just sign it. They still have the arguments afterwards. But, well, good. I'm glad to hear those things are coming. Projects-wise, I wanted to hit on this because there's a couple really cool things that I know you guys are working on. We talked about the CATE Center, but dig in a little bit about things happening at PV.
So right now we have one facility with lights, so we're working on a second. We're in the development stage and the research stage, but we're looking at putting lights on the Piedra Vista High School soccer field. Okay. So we'd have 2 lit soccer fields there. And the delay right now is we're waiting. Obviously, soccer's still going on. A lot of moving parts, so we need to plan accordingly to when the watering cycles are stuff. So that's our biggest project we're looking at right now. To add on to that, we're looking at also adding bleachers to the football field at PV. If you've ever been to a game, there's no seating. There's 2 little bleachers there, so we're looking at, I believe it's a little over 1,000 capacity bleachers, elevated. So ADA access, all those things. So those are our 2 big projects we're hoping to start in December, January timeframe is the expected start for those, in hopes of it being ready before the spring for the lights at least. So.
Well, and we'll add that the transformer that we're putting in for the lights will allow us the capability to eventually add some lights to that football field.
Wonderful. You know how these things speak so dearly to my heart.
I know, we do.
We don't need to get into that.
We won't get into that. But we obviously want to thank the city for the partnership and the use of fields, but I think this also opens up opportunities for us to give back to the city, in terms of, or the citizens of our community to use our facilities as well.
No, I like that as well.
We have lights on our soccer field, and we can practice all night.
Yeah. Well, when you add lights to anything, it just capacity grows.
Yeah.
Right. In the football field's right near my house, and I'm just picturing I could run that track I need to run. I could run that track at night.
Yeah.
It's beautiful at night. Yeah. It costs money though to run those lights, guys.
Yeah.
It's
maybe you could put quarters in.
It does
to turn
not
the lights
cost
on.
as much as people think, though.
Yeah.
There's a benefit to it.
There is a
There
benefit.
to
There
it.
is a benefit.
And then HVAC was another one that's being worked on at PV as well,
Yeah.
which I know the kids will love.
So that's another one that we're going to the state for funding with the pre-K. Is that PV HVAC system is way out of date. So if anybody sat in a classroom early in August this year, they knew it was hot. So that's going to be a big upgrade for us if we can get that going. So.
Get those UFO ones you put on Country Club, right? We can put some more of those spaceship ones.
Yeah.
PV. One thing I want to celebrate that we talked about is the fact that as the state goes around and does assessments of everybody's facilities, Farmington Municipal Schools has done a really good job of maintaining those.
Right. So it's called the FMAR score. It's our big score. It stands for Facility Maintenance Assessment Report. And it's really a grading over how our operations department maintains our facilities as far as repairs, upkeep, everywhere from the grounds to the inside. And Farmington Municipal Schools this year received a grade of 92.8%, which is the highest in the state this year. So really proud of our maintenance department, operations department, because those guys work hard. And anytime something goes wrong in a building, you want to blame everybody else, but I mean, our guys are responsive. They show up, they get the job done, and they try to keep our facilities nice for not just our kids, but our staff and our community, because it's something they're proud of.
No, it takes a lot. You said 20 cities, so you've got 20. We got more than 20 facilities, but you've got all of that work that has to be done on a regular basis, and so having good people in charge of that makes a big difference. And I appreciate good maintenance programs, man. You go around the city. That's one of the things we pride ourselves here too. The city of Farmington is that our facilities look nice, and we want them to maintain that way because we know it's taxpayer dollars going into it. The Heights and the Mesa Verde new school stuff, that's kind of been pushed down for right now, right? I want to make sure we kind of hit on that.
Yeah. I mean, right now we're going to the state for those two projects. The other two, I mean, they're on our radar, but the focus is on these two right now. And when you get approved for something like that, you kind of got to see the project through before you go and ask for more. So the bright side is Mesa Verde is going to get a new playground. So we are working on getting quotes for that and design phase. That's where we're at now, is in the design phase. So
that's great.
The magic of it all is fitting it in to where we don't have to move it later if we ever do get a new facility. So, but yeah, I'm excited for those kids to get a new playground over there. So,
good deal. Last thing I want to touch on, actually, I got two more things, but I want to touch on school safety.
Yeah.
I know this is obviously a huge topic for everybody. Every parent's getting the emails and the text messages, and their students are coming home, and we're seeing these online social media threats that are kind of statewide, and then some end up here locally. But can you elaborate a little bit and kind of tell us what the schools are doing to address it?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that's really important is that social media is an amazing thing that we have in our lives now. But on the flip side, when we see these threats that come across, whether they're a statewide threat, a nationwide threat, I just want to encourage parents to, if there's a concern, to notify the police department. Sharing it on social media, on their pages, just creates a narrative that just expands. And you know, when we were in school, when we had the old tell the secret game, and by the time it got back to the fourth or fifth person, it wasn't anywhere near what the truth was, right? So I just want to encourage you to instead of sharing on social media, contact the police department, contact our schools first and foremost. But along the lines of safety, I'm really proud of what Farmington Schools has done over the last 5 years. I think right before COVID, we didn't have a safety department. And so we hired a safety supervisor for the district, and he now has an assistant under him as well. And they provide great support for our schools around required drills and emergency preparedness and how to be safe and what to look for. Along with that, we now have 2 armed campus safety monitors, one at each comprehensive high school, one at Piedra Vista and one at Farmington High, along with 14 campus safety monitors at our secondary schools. So we've increased the presence of security officers in our district. So that's been a plus. We've increased our surveillance. We've gone from about 250 to 500 cameras, and we've tied into the real-time crime center with the Farmington Police Department, which is huge. Another great partnership that we have with the City of Farmington and the Police Department. That's big. All of our law enforcement partners have access controls to our schools in case of emergency, whether it's the City of Farmington, the San Juan County Sheriff's Department, our state police. We have radios in the hands of all of our adults that tie directly to dispatch. Our administrative radios tied directly to our bell system, so I don't have to stand in my office to make an announcement. We can do it over our radio. So that's all been in partnership with the City of Farmington, the Farmington Police Department as well. Ben McGahey, we can't thank him enough for the amount of hours that he's put into our school system to support that communication. So those are some of the big things that we've done in our schools and to keep them safe. But obviously, as we all know, it comes back to people, right? And communicating the correct ways, trusting us. We're trained to do what's right in emergency situations. And when it's our own kids, I get it.
Right.
Both my boys were in school when we had the Aztec shooting, and the level of fright goes up when it's your kid, right? So I get it. I'm not taking anything away from that, but let's let our partners in the city do their job with the police department. All of these threats are going down to. I don't remember the exact name of it, but down in Albuquerque, they vet them through the FBI. So just going back to what I say, please do not share on social media. Share with the police and share with our schools.
No.
So a lot of great things that have happened over the last 5 years in terms of tightening our schools, even the secure vestibules, the fencing. We don't want our schools to look like prisons.
Right.
We want them to be welcome and inviting, but we also want them to be safe.
Isaac, you want to add anything to that? No, that's all right.
It's more his, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
In regards to that, is there a resource available to parents on like the school district's website or anything that kind of talks about what those protocols would look like if there was an emergency? Is there anything like that available?
Yeah, so if you go to farmingtonschools.us, our website, so there's a security page that we're currently developing. Not only that, but we also have a mental health school nurse page that gives a ton of resources around how to support your students. I think I saw on our Facebook, we have some online courses that parents can take with their students on how to navigate social media, this computer that we give them, and how to be safe with technology. So yes.
Good. Well, I encourage parents to make sure you're checking those things out, knowing ahead of time and having kind of a preconception idea of what would happen in these situations. I think just helps. When you don't know, that's when you get really frantic about certain things. So, but even in these the past few weeks where we've had these threats, I've appreciated the strong communication coming out from the schools, just letting parents know.
Well, and we try to communicate early and often, but as everybody knows that has a cell phone in their hand and uses social media, sometimes things get communicated faster than we do. Sure. And please always rely on our communication because we're the ones at the site.
Very good. Well, last thing I want to thank you all for is the Balanced Journey Adventure Park, the Tibbetts All Ability Park Foundation. That project is coming along strongly. I'm excited about it, and we continue to see donations come in. But the donation of the land for that project was the first phase, and I just want to thank you all for that. It's going to be very exciting to see that project, first phase, get completed here soon. So just want to say thanks.
Well, and obviously thank you guys. I mean, without the City of Farmington, and it's a partnership, right? Yeah. And I know it's not always perfect. Sometimes we have our disagreements, but at the end of the day, I know that the City of Farmington and you and everybody that I deal with wants what's best for our community and our kids, and so do we.
Sure. Isaac, any final words? Anything you want to leave us with?
Again, I just want to remind all the parents, look out for that survey probably in the next couple months, and just know that we're always doing what's best for kids. We're trying to make sure that they're safe, that they have an opportunity to, whether it's competing or participating in some event. We're trying to provide as many opportunities for them to figure out who they are. I mean, kids nowadays, there's so many avenues that they're trying to figure themselves out. And so the schools, we provide those opportunities through our clubs and athletics and activities like you had mentioned. So we just know that all of our people involved are open to communication and talk to us. And let us know. And if we're wrong, we'll own it and we'll go from there. But I just ask they start off with, hey, we're trying to do what's best for all our kids.
Sure. Cody, anything else?
No, I just echo what Mr. Gamboa said. I mean, I've said it a couple times today, and you've said it. It's a big organization, and when you involve upwards of 12,000 people, we make mistakes. We're not perfect, but bottom line is that we do want what's best for our students in this community and our families. So we strive for that every day, and our doors are open. So if you have issues, let us know.
Okay, good. Cody, Isaac, thanks for being here with us, and thank you for tuning in today. I want to thank our teachers, our principals. I mean, they were part of that. When Cody says we know who you're talking about, but I believe that each and every one of those individuals has taken that a solemn oath to themselves that I am here for those students. I'm here because I want them to be successful, because without successful students, we don't have successful societies. So I just want to thank them for the work that they're doing. And parents, stay engaged with your kids. Know what's going on in the schools. Know how they're doing in their classes. Make sure you've developed relationships with their teachers, with their coaches, with their club sponsors. We need your volunteering. We need you there with them, because it only further guarantees their success, not just in school, but throughout life. So thank you again for tuning in here today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you here next time on the Mayor's Table.